Ba ba da ba da ba da did did that. Hey! Oh, Story time is where the worlds collide. Topics exploding like a wild ride. Every tale gripping, exciting by design. No one tells a story better. This is story time.
Ready.
Do it. All right. You boys ready for some story time?
Oh, I'm
we got
ready.
an interesting one. It's a little bit, I mean, it's Christmas adjacent in that it happened on Christmas and Christmas Eve.
Ooh.
But we're kind of continuing with the bit of the mystery, the spooky a little bit here. So we're going to be talking about the Sodder family, which is an American family that lived in West Virginia. They lived in Fayetteville, West Virginia, in around the 40s, 50s, like mid-century, basically, right? It was a large family. They had 10 kids. So the father and the wife, George and Jenny, they had 10 children, half of which were under the age of 15, and the rest were kind of like, spread between their 20s. A couple of them were older. But we're going to kind of fast forward to the night of Christmas Eve in 1949 with the Sodder family. So they have all gotten together in their original house, seeing family, hanging out, doing the normal Christmas cheer and merriment, right? And everything seemed fine. Generally, the older kids would stay up later at the night to play with their toys, and the younger kids would go to bed, and the parents would put them away and also go to sleep, and, pretty normal. However, this Christmas Eve would not end up being normal for the Sodder family, unfortunately. On the later of the evening, when half of the kids went up to sleep, the 5 youngest kids, Maurice at 14, Martha at 12, Louis at 9, Jenny at 8, and Betty at 5, all went to bed. And the rest of the family, besides the parents, stayed down to play and do whatever for a little bit longer. At around 12:30 a.m., so around midnight, the mom, Jenny, woke up to a noise on her roof. She heard something loud hit the roof, and then kind of like roll off, basically.
Santa?
Yeah, right? Maybe he's here. He just fell
Good
off
one,
your
dude.
roof, actually. So she hears this loud bang and a rolling sound off the roof, and then nothing. So she's like, all right, maybe, whatever. It could have been something fell off a tree, it is what it is. So she goes back to sleep. She didn't even investigate, didn't want to look. About an hour and a half later, she wakes up to the smell of smoke.
Mm-hmm.
She gets up, she wakes up her husband, George, and they look around and they realize there's a fire in the house. The house is like, almost engulfed in flames. It's pretty bad. So they immediately grab up the children that were downstairs, who are already down there, and get out of the house. And they realize that the stairs going up to the children that are asleep were like already very dangerous, like flames and smoke, like, wasn't easy. And so the father, George, tried a number of times to get the kids out. He tried going up the stairs himself, but he couldn't because of the flames. He went outside to find his ladder so he could get up to the second floor and go into the window, but his ladder was gone. He was like, I always put it in the same place. Ladder wasn't there. And then he tried to pull his car up to use that to get up on the roof, and his car wouldn't start. He could not get it going. Unfortunately, because of the time and the location of where this happened, fire department didn't come until the next morning. And the fire chief at the time ended up saying that he didn't know if he could find their house at night because he didn't know how to get there.
Okay.
So next morning, fire department shows up. The house is burned down. The 5 kids that were trapped upstairs, there's no sign of them. Obviously, they just assumed that they had perished in the fire. The rest of the family is obviously there talking to the fire chiefs and the police and everybody else, and, being like, what the hell happened here? And at first they just, assume it was a normal house fire and, unfortunate circumstances. And, this was the case. But the kind of details of the fire and what happened and what they've discovered afterwards basically make it very strange. So The recollection of the family as they escaped the house, they said the house burned down in about 45 minutes, which is incredibly quick for a normal house fire. They'd go on for hours because there's just so much structure. Um, Another part of this is that after when the police and the fire team arrived and they're doing their investigation of the ashes and whatnot to see if they could determine what happened, um, another thing they look for is bones, because if there's people trapped in the fire, after the fire has already gone down and all the ashes are there, you'll find the bones because the fire doesn't burn hot enough to burn through the bones. You'll just see them there. They found no bones whatsoever. In fact, they found no sign that the 5 kids that were trapped in the house had died. Like, they couldn't find anything. They pulled in multiple forensics teams who were like, yeah, you can't just burn bones with a house fire. Like, you'd have to burn it at an incredibly hot temperature to burn bones. To the point where even like morgues and funeral homes, when they cremate corpses, they don't even burn. They can't burn through every bone. They'll still get bone fragments at the end of that process. It's like, that's not even hot enough. So to really burn through bone, you need to be, burning at an incredible temperature, which is like, that doesn't happen in a house fire. So that was their immediate concern, was like, okay, well, if we can't find any signs that the kids died in the fire, like, but we also have no idea where they could have gone. There weren't like footsteps leading out of the house or anything. There was no like commotion or anything. They were like, they couldn't have really gone anywhere. They had to have died in the fire, right? But in the weeks and months following this event, there were a ton of reports and people that were coming in saying, hey, I saw the kids. Like, they were on this bus I was on. They were in this diner that I was waiting. Like, I waited on the kids this morning. Like, there's stories from people in the area saying, like, yeah, I saw them yesterday. They were with 2 random people that I didn't recognize. There's multiple stories. Like I said, one was a waitress. She said the morning after the fire, she waited on a table. She recognized the kids with 2 strange people she didn't know. She was like, okay. She hadn't known of the fire beforehand because, word didn't spread as fast then. So she didn't think anything of it. But later when the police came, she was like, yeah, I saw them the next morning. Like, they were there. Like I mentioned with the bus, somebody was getting off a bus and said, I saw the kids on the bus with 2 other people. They were there. And this happened days after the fire burned. And even beyond that, there were people like essentially saying, yeah, I saw them recently. Now, again, this investigation kind of died off because there was nothing they could have gone on, right? There was no evidence of the fire. They didn't really have any solid leads besides people saying like, yeah, I saw them here, or they were here recently or whatever. About 15 or 20 years later, the family is, moved on at this point. The mom, Jenny, receives a letter in the mail for Christmas. The letter in the mail has a picture of a man in his 20s, and on the back of the picture in the letter, it says, Louis Sauter, I love brother Frankie, some ill boys, and then a bunch of numbers and letters. And the mom's looking at it saying, like, this is my kid that died in the fire. Like, this is Louis, who's one of the 5 kids. And she's like, this is him grown up. This is him 20 years later, not the kid that I lost in the fire. She was like, okay, like, what the hell's going on? She hires a private investigator to be like, hey, track this down. Like, where'd it come from? Who is this? All this stuff. 2 months after they hire the private investigator, he vanishes. They never hear back from him. They can't find him. They can't contact him. No idea. Just gone. They didn't get any records of what he found or if he even found anything. They literally just never heard from him again. And then about 40 years later, people put up a billboard on Route 16, right outside of Fayetteville, right outside of where the house was, essentially saying, have you seen these kids? People still think the family is actually still looking because they don't believe that the kids died in the fire. They believe all the stories that people have been telling them, that they saw the kids days after, months after. You get a postcard in the mail that has a picture of your son grown up,
almost 20
with
years
direct
later.
references with your family in it, like, but you have no idea. You don't know who could have taken them. You don't know why. You know, you don't know. Did they start the fire as like a means to try and do something around? You know, like
To get
why?
out of there.
Yeah. And so yeah, even to this day, nobody really knows if the kids died in the fire, if somebody took the kids and now they're living somewhere else. Like it's just kind of this because there's nothing to go off of, you know. There's no evidence for the police or investigators to be like, we can track this down. There's just nothing.
Yeah. It sounds like they started the fire to run away from home.
Maybe.
And then years and years later, they're like, I still
Right.
kind of love my parents.
I'm
So
gonna see what they're up to.
I'll send them a postcard. Yeah,
right.
interesting.
But yeah.
Spooky for sure, Jake. You do it every time, man.
On the night of Christmas Eve in 1949, random weird stuff happened in the Sauter family, and nobody really knows why. So.
Okay, yeah. 1959. That's what you said?
49.
Oh, 1949. Yeah, okay. I get
That's
how
when
the
it
fire
started.
Department didn't get there till the next day. No GPS.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It was then, and plus West Virginia, like it could be very difficult terrain and stuff like that. It's just woods.
Yeah.
So they were probably like, we're not gonna be able to find this house until the sun's up. Let's go tomorrow morning.
That's crazy. Imagine you
Yeah.
actually needed someone
Right?
though for a fire. I mean, I guess they
Nothing to
did,
do.
and they're
Yeah.
like,
Different
"Fuck,
times.
I don't know how to get there."
Yeah. The one thing that sticks out to me too is the missing ladder detail, where
Oh,
the
yeah.
father's like, I needed to get my ladder to go save my kids, and I couldn't find it.
So he had to use
And-
his car, and the car wouldn't start.
Yeah, and then that plus the sound on the roof and the rolling and stuff like that. Like a kid's not going to be able to climb a roof with a ladder or throw something high enough to get it up there too. Because these kids are, the oldest is 14 that died in this fire, you know, and then after that it's like 10, 9, 5.
Five.
Like these are young kids. So it's strange to me because you have these weird details where it's like somebody did these things on purpose, you know?
Dude, I think they did it. I think the kids, maybe they were mistreated. Maybe they
They're
didn't
in on
like
it.
where they were.
Maybe.
They
yeah.
started the fire. They ran away. They went to
Just
the
like, this is
diner
our
the next
chance.
day.
I mean, but why start a fire? You could just leave.
Fake their death. I
Make
don't
a
know.
statement.
Maybe.
Make a statement.
Maybe. Make a statement, yeah. Maybe they were trying to kill their whole family and they're like, let's just get out of here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Good story, Jake.
Well,
Good
Jake,
story.
Well
spooky
done,
times.
as always.
I had a
Let us
couple
know
of
your thoughts in the comments, what you guys think happened, and
Yeah.
I guess we can move on to our next session here.
I had a couple of secondary stories that I was thinking about too, but I went with this one. There was some interesting stuff, like the London fire, which happened in like the early 1900s. But there's like great fires in London that burned like most of the city, right? And as they were trying to rebuild, fires kept like reigniting, but like right before people would see the fire go up, they would see a man on fire standing outside of the area.
Burning Man?
Yeah, right.
Well, that's definitely one I'm going to want you to dive into in a future episode. That's for sure.
I got you.
You almost gave our audience there a quick teaser. I like that. More to come, everybody.
Ba-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-did-did-that. Hey! Storytime is where the worlds collide, topics exploding like a wild